Now, what happened regarding the Yahood of Khaybar is that after they broke the peace treaty and they allied with not only with other Yahoodis but also with the pagans against the Muslims fought against them and defeated them. And when the Prophet defeated them, he only took some of the land from them. He didn't take all the land from them. And because he made a treaty with some of the other ones who surrendered. And so some of them remained in the land and some of their lands were taken by the Muslims. And the same happened to the Yahood of Fadak. It happened during the same time. And that is why the Shias to this day claim that the land of Fadak belongs to them. You see, the land of Fadak actually belonged to the Yahoodis, and the Muslims conquered it after the Yahoodis broke the peace treaty with the Muslims. And it's interesting that it was Omar radiallahu anhu who expelled the Yahood of Fadak, according to Sunan Abu Dawud. And in the book The Life of Muhammad, peace be upon him, which is the oldest existing history book of Islam, in the chapter about the raid of Khaybar, the raid against the Yahood of Khaybar, we read that the people of Natab were the most violent of the Yahoodis, and the people of Najd were also among them. Now you understand why there is this fake conflict between the 12 Imami Shias and the Saudis, even though they're actually all working together. And not only is Iran allied with the Saudi kingdom, they are also allied with the Abbasi's, with the government of Oman, who are admittedly Khawarij. They are the actual historical Khawarij. And so what you're seeing here is the Yahood of Iran, the Yahood of Khaybar, I should say, and the Kuffar of Najd working together once again, just like in the past. And as it says in the Bible, what has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. And look at this warning from the Shia's own books. It says that Imam Reza, peace be upon him, said, and Imam Reza, for those you don't know, is the grandson of Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, the teacher of Imam Abu Hanifa. It says that, and he was from the Ahlul Bayt, he was from the descendants of the Prophet. He said that among those who claim to love us, Ahlul Bayt, there are those whose deception is greater for our followers than even that of Dajjal. I said, why, son of Messenger of Allah? He said, because they ally with our enemies and are enemies of our allies. When this takes place, truth and lies will be mixed, and people will get confused and won't be able to tell the difference between a true believer and a munafiq or fake Muslim. And it's interesting because today the Shias, the government of Iran, constantly claim that their Sunni enemies are actually Nasibis. They accuse us, they accuse people like me, and they accuse, the Mujahideen in Afghanistan and Iraq of being the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, of being the enemies of Ali. And yet they ally with the actual provable historical enemies of Ali and the Ahlul Bayt. So they ally with the Khawarij, and then they accuse people like me of being Khawarij without any evidence. But they ally with the actual historical Khawarij, who don't even deny that they hate Ali ibn Abi Talib. You see, the people who control Oman, the government of Oman, these people, the Abbasi's, they don't even deny that they hate Ali. And yet the Shias ally with them, and then they accuse us of hating Ali. And they accuse, the Taliban, the so-called Taliban, the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, of hating Ali ibn Abi Talib. And they accuse Abu Mus'ab al-Zarqawi or Osama bin Laden of hating Ali ibn Abi Talib, even though there is absolutely no evidence that they hate Ali ibn Abi Talib. Whereas the Abbasi's actually admit that they hate Ali ibn Abi Talib. So it's very interesting because it says in this narration, in their own book, it says, they ally with our enemies and are enemies of our allies. So we, people like me, I am an ally, I am a supporter of Ali ibn Abi Talib or Hussein ibn Ali or Hassan ibn Ali. And yet, according to the Shias, I'm a bad person and I'm a Nasibi and I am their enemy. And if you look at, for example, the Mujahideen in Iraq, many of them actually named their operations after Ali ibn Abi Talib. When they were carrying out attacks against America, they were referring to their operations as they were naming them after Ali radiallahu anhu. And yet the Shias claim that no, America, we have to cooperate with America against you Sunnis because you Sunnis are Nasibis. So think about it. Who are the real enemies of Ahlul Bayt? Of course, it's the Zionists, it's the Freemasons, it's America, it's Israel. And yet the Shias ally with them against the Sunnis, and they even ally with the Khawarij and with the Saudi kingdom, and then they accuse people like me of being Wahhabis. And this is exactly what Imam Reza was warning about according to their own books. You see, we are the ones who are actually following Imam Reza and Imam Jafar as-Sadiq. And I'm not saying Imam in the way that the Shias do. I'm saying Imam as in, like Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad, and Imam Bukhari, and Imam Reza in the same way. And so we are the ones who actually are on the same side as Imam Reza, not the 12 Imami Shia Rawafiz. And you see these 12 Imami Shias, these Ithna Ashari Shias, you see that they use the symbol of Dajjal. And this is the same symbol again that we saw in the previous video. And here it is on the flag of Iraqi soldiers who are fighting against the Ahlus Sunnah in Iraq. And you see the eye of Dajjal and it says Allah on top. And we see the same symbol in the police force of Saudi Arabia, the Saudi kingdom. Their police force uses the same symbol. And the eye of Dajjal, the eye of Freemasonry, is constantly seen in Saudi Arabia in so many different places, just like in America, just like in Russia, just like in Iran. There is no difference between these kuffar.
But not to go and make things up, not to consider any eye that I see to be a sign of the Antichrist or the Dajjal or the Illuminatis. Any pyramid that has an eye in it, that's their sign. The conspiracy theories spreading all around us.
Yes, stop exposing our dear royal family, our transsexual Saudi royal family. Stop exposing them. Stop exposing. You have to only believe what you hear on TV. If you don't believe this narrative, this cartoon, if you don't believe this, then you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. You're insane. You're crazy. How could you not believe what they constantly tell us on TV? You see, if you don't believe these cartoons, then they say that you're crazy. This is the narrative that they want us to believe in. This Shia cleric is pulling the beard of this, Saudi. It's all fake. It's completely fake. It's got nothing to do with reality. If you want to know why they use this one eye symbol, as I said, it's because they want to associate it with Islam so that you subconsciously worship Dajjal. So for example, here in Iran, I'm filming this hand here. You can see it's the Hamza hand, which is similar to the Jewish Hamza hand. But in Iran, they call it the hand of Fatima. And we see that here, instead of the eye, the symbol, instead of the eye symbol in the middle of the hand, we see that it says Allah. It actually says Allah in the middle of the hand. However, what happens is that then you go to Behesht Zahra, which is also in Tehran, the capital of Iran. And when you look around, what do you see? You see the hand symbol, but instead of Allah, we see the symbol of the one eye. So again, they are subliminally associating the one eye with Allah. So you go to one place, you see that it's this symbol and it says Allah, and in another place, in the same country, in the same city, in Tehran, capital of Iran, instead of Allah, you see the eye, the one eye. And so what's the subliminal message? The subliminal message that subconsciously goes into your mind is that Allah is one-eyed. That's why they do this. They're not doing this for fun. They're not doing this for no reason. They're not just randomly putting eye symbols everywhere. There is a reason. There's a method to the madness. There's a reason why they are doing these things. This is their agenda. This is how subliminal messages work, as I've explained in great detail on my previous videos. If you watch my video titled What are Subliminal Messages, I went into great detail explaining how exactly it works.
I just want to begin without a long history lesson. What is the ultimate difference between Shia and Sunni Muslims?
Well, it basically originated from the succession to the Prophet Muhammad after his death. The Shiite Muslims followed the Prophet Muhammad's son-in-law and cousin, a fellow by the name of Imam Ali, and another group of Muslims essentially elected another leader.
You see, I actually went to the library and I looked into books about Islam, the history of Islam that are published in the West. And I couldn't find a single book in the bookstores or in the libraries anywhere that even mentioned the history of Shia and Sunni division according to the Sunnis, according to Sunni historians and Sunni scholars like Ibn Asakir and Sunni historians and scholars like Tabari. As you can see, if you read the history of Tabari, it clearly says that the Shia sect was created by a group of Yahoodis, by a group of Kabbalist Jews, Yahoodis, who first pretended to support Ali, but they were secretly betraying him. And they were secretly disobeying him and working against him until Ali eventually turned against them and he expelled their leader to Iraq. And it was these people who murdered the third caliph, Uthman radiallahu anhu. And these people were these Yahoodis were the founders of Shiism. They were the first Shia sect. Ali didn't belong to a different sect than Abu Bakr and Omar. Abu Bakr, Omar, Osman and Ali, they all belonged to one sect. They never had any sectarian differences. The sectarian differences did not begin over the caliphate of Ali and Abu Bakr or anything like that. This first sect that was created was known as the Sab'iyah, who are also known as the Shias or Rafizis. And they were Yahoodis, they were crypto-Jews. And this clearly is stated in the some of the earliest Sunni history books, including the book of Saif ibn Omar, which was censored by the Abbasid kingdom. But no matter which one of these sources in the West you look at, any of these media sources, any of these Zionist published books in your schools, in your colleges, in your universities, no matter which channel you change to on TV, you always get the same exact narrative. Every single TV channel, also every disinformation agent on the internet, such as David Icke. I've shown the clips before, like David Icke and Webster Tarpley and all these people. They all tell the same lie about how Shias and Sunnis were divided. You see, it wasn't really a division, it's that the Shias created a sect. It's not that the Muslims divided into two different sects. That's why the Shias are a small minority. They're only about 10%, because these were the Yahood of the Middle East who decided, instead of admitting to being Jewish, they decided to stab the Muslims in the back. And yet they want us to hate those honest Jews instead. And many of these fake scholars on the internet, they claim that, and on TV, they want us to hate the honest Jews, the anti-Zionist Jews. They accuse the anti-Zionist Jews of Iran who refused to go to Israel. They're accusing them of being Dajjal's followers. And they refuse to expose the crypto Jews, and they refuse to even mention this narrative that is in the history of Tabari and the history of Damascus by Ibn Asakir and many other scholars. They don't even refute it. They don't even want you to know about this. They act like Sunni and Shia were just, first they were Muslims, and then over a political difference, people divided into Sunni and Shia. But it wasn't really a political difference. It was a religious difference. It was the Yahoodis, it was the Kabbalist Jews who created their own fake version of Islam. After they failed to deceive our Prophet and make him say the things that they wanted him to say, they decided to go ahead and just make their own fake versions of Islam. So they created the Khawarij and the Sab'iyah. And the founder of the Khawarij and the founder of the Sab'iyah was the same person. He was Abdullah ibn Wahb Sabai. The same person who founded the Shiism the first sect of the Shias also founded the Khawarij. Now you know why they cooperate together. Now you know why the Shias refuse to call the Khawarij. They don't call them Khawarij. They don't call them Nasibis. They call them our Sunni brothers. And then they accuse the Sunnis of being Khawarij and Nasibis without any evidence. They just out of nowhere they say, oh, you're Khawarij, you're Nasibi, you're a Wahhabi. But I don't even follow Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, and yet they call me a Wahhabi. And then you got some Salafis who do respect Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, but they also respect Ali ibn Abi Talib, and they call them Nasibis, even though they support Ali and they support Hussein. And but they refuse to call the Yazidis Nasibis. The Yazidis, to admit that they hate the family of the Prophet, the Yazidis of Iraq, who are openly satanic, it's a satanic religion. The Shias are allied with them and they defend them. They defend them politically, and they defend them in their speeches, and they say they're good people. So they tell us that the Khawarij are good people, the Yazidis are good people, and we have to help America invade Afghanistan, we have to help NATO, we have to help America invade Iraq, we have to defend Israel's borders with Lebanon, we have to defend Russia, we have to support all these Zionists and all these Freemasons. But when it comes to the Ahlul Sunnah, whom they claim to love, they instead accuse us of being Wahhabis and Nasibis and even Yazidis. They even in Iraq they refer to the Sunnis as Yazidis, and yet they ally with the actual Yazidis. So anyway, all over the media, not just in the media of Iran, not just in the media of Shia countries, but all over the media, even in Saudi Arabia, in the Western countries, in the all these Western countries that are run by the Zionists, every Zionist TV channel, every Zionist disinformation agent, they all repeat this same fake narrative.
But the big split, there was a tremendous schism, and of course it was over politics, and that was after the death of Muhammad. So then you had a question of who would then be the next leader of the Islamic State and so on, the Caliphate, and there was a terrible situation, and there was a terrible murder, and that caused a split between Sunni and Shia. It's important to know that that split was completely political. Shia believe in the same Quran.
The terms Sunnis and Shiites get thrown around a lot when discussing Middle Eastern conflicts. And sometimes it's useful, but most of the time it feels like it's just shorthand for these people hate each other. It's also worth noting that their religions aren't diametrically opposed. In fact, the Sunni-Shiite conflict isn't even really about religion, it's about power. So you can see that the Sunni-Shiite conflicts are more about power, politics, and retribution than actual religion. Originally, Muslims were all one group, unified under the Prophet Muhammad. Then, in the year 632, Muhammad died, and Muslims split off into two separate groups. The Sunnis wanted Muhammad's successor to be chosen by his community of followers, while the Shiites wanted the leadership to stay within the Prophet's family. The Sunnis were in the majority, so they chose their new leader to be the Caliph, which is basically the head of state. The Shiites did not recognize this new leader, and instead, they chose Muhammad's son-in-law, Ali, as their new imam, which also basically means head of state. That was the main source of divide, and from there, things really only got worse. Early on, most of the Shiite imams met violent ends at the hands of the stronger Sunni caliphs, including Imam Ali's son, Hussein.
Despite clashes between Sunni and Shia over the years, their core religious beliefs are not that different. They both believe in God and the Prophet Muhammad.
The world's 1.6 billion Muslims all agree that Allah is the only God and Muhammad his messenger. They all follow the 5 same ritualistic pillars of Islam, including Ramadan and observing the Quran. And some differences between the two are minor. The Shiites pray with their hands by their sides, and the Sunnis pray with their hands crossed at their chest or stomach. The key schismatic difference is rooted in the question of who should succeed Muhammad after his death in 632.
But the United States government really hates Iran. So we're sold the story that this is somehow an even fight, and if we don't help Saudi Arabia and the Sunnis, Iran's going to control everything. The Shia-Sunni divide certainly exists, but that's not what is at the root of these conflicts. It's power and it's money, same as it ever was. If you want to learn more about the problems of the region, I suggest you check out my new essay, Everybody's Lying About Islam, available now. Also, you might want to chip into my crowdfunding thing on Patreon.
In short, the Saudis follow Wahhabism, an ultra-conservative sect of the Sunni faith, while Iranians are mostly Twelvers of the Shia faith. The divide between the Shia and the Sunni is largely based on who they believe is the true successor of Islam's prophet, Muhammad.
Do you see how hard they are trying to hide the Jewish or Yahoodi origins of Shiism? Do you know why they're doing this? It's so that they can then show you pictures like these and tell you that Muslims support Hitler and Nazism, and therefore we can blame the Muslims for what the Nazis did. That these Muslims are on the same side as Nazis, and then they can blame the Palestinians, even though the Palestinians are Sunni and these people are Shia. But they want to say that no, see, there's no difference between Shia and Sunni. There's no difference. So we have to blame the Palestinians for what Iran does, and we have to blame Iran for what the Nazis did, because they're all on the same side. They're all bad Muslims. That's what they. That's why they don't want to talk about Shia and Sunni and tell us that Shia and Sunni is nothing. It's just some political differences about who gets to rule, or but they don't want to talk about the religious aspect and how Shiism has so much in common with Judaism. And inshallah, we will look at even more similarities on part 4 of this video. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.